guys, let's get into this quarterback discussion, because it's like there's really no path to the treasure right now. I mean, it's a tough decision. Heinrich Haarberg didn't start the week in practice. To me, that's not a good sign that he's limited.
No, it's not.
Chubba Purdy is trying to give it a go, but you wonder if the growing injury that he's had. We've seen this with players; they can play through it and then have to get surgery. What flared up? How's he doing? And Jeff Sims, we know he's healthy, but his issue is the turnovers. But you get the sense, at least my read on Tuesday, was they want it to be Purdy, but they've got to see how he does.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like just listening to Marcus Satterfield on Tuesday, Haarberg is a long shot at this point. Just the fact that he's limited right now, and they're talking about if we want to get him ready if we need him type thing. That doesn't sound good. So that makes it, you think that it's going to be between Sims and Purdy. They split first team reps, I guess, through the first couple of days of practice so far, and they're just going to kind of evaluate it as they go. They said they're getting all three ready to play, because I don't know if you can just pick one guy, because what happens if, you start Sims, what if he turns the ball over 2 or 3 times in the first half and you have to go to somebody else? You need Purdy or whoever it is to be ready to go. So it's a situation where all 3 options are flawed, and it's risk involved with each one of those guys under center. I think I agree. I think Purdy would probably be the preferred choice in that scenario, but the fact that he played 11 snaps and was banged up, it just shows he hasn't played in a lot of games. And then with that groin injury, which Matt Rule said after the game is likely going to require offseason surgery, I mean, he's got a lot going on physically.
Yeah. I still don't know what to make of that. We asked Satterfield this week if Chubba Purdy's been practicing all along. He said, yeah, he's been practicing all along. So I don't know how bad that is. We're going to know at game time. It's going to be a game time decision. That's what we're looking at. It's kind of fun. I mean, I kind of like not knowing and seeing who's out there for the first snap.
Fun.
And Chubba, if he's prepared all week to be a starter, how much better will he look? Think about this. He didn't really prepare at all. I mean, it was just kind of like a relief pitching appearance. They made a call to the bullpen and brought in the 9th inning guy. I mean, he came in for the last drive.
So Satterfield said he had only repped 2 of the plays, 2 of the 11 plays. So he led an 11-play, 90-yard march and threw a pick at the end of it, but, led him down the field and had repped what Satterfield said was only 2 of those plays in practice that week. He gets limited reps. He does get reps with the ones. Very limited, though. And now this week he's getting a lot of them with the ones. He had appeared in 3 games this year, pretty much mop-up duty, Chubba. But it's not going to be mop-up duty in Madison. He's going to be playing.
Well, and, we've been critical of Mark Whipple on this show a little bit over the years, but one thing you got to get, Whipple knows quarterbacks. He coached at the highest level, coached NFL quarterbacks, and he's been on Chubba. He was on Chubba Purdy for years. That was his guy. Yep. So he's the tools are there. He's got intangibles.
Yep.
He's got the brother now that starts with the San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy. And somebody brought up a great point to me on Saturday. Who was the quarterback? Has there ever been a game where the 2 quarterbacks on the field were younger brothers of starting NFL quarterbacks? I mean, that had to be a first.
Oh my God. Good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty freaky when you think about it. I mean, the Dolphins, the 49ers quarterbacks brothers were facing off in Lincoln.
Yeah. Current present day starters and their brothers were, yeah.
The thing about Chubba too is he's really well liked in that locker room too. He's got a personality that I think is a lot of guys are drawn to. And so, there's something to be said for that. I think that was a reason why people rallied around Haarberg, because he kind of had some of that, but probably not to the level as Purdy, just kind of reading the tea leaves on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Purdy is faster than people give him credit for too. I mean, he was a 4.5 runner. He was a dual threat quarterback. He's not a statue pocket guy. He was always a guy that could run. And I think you saw his accelerator gears.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm confused about this whole groin talk, because he's been practicing all along, and he didn't look slowed to me. He looked like he had some speed.
Can those flare up though?
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't flare up.
And I mean, if correct me if I'm wrong, when they get, it's like a sports hernia surgery. Is that when these guys get those growing surgeries? It's usually they call that the sports hernia. And we've seen a lot of guys have to get that. And that used to be like a career-ending type surgery for players. I mean, guys never
used to, yeah.
But they've kind of changed the surgical way of doing it, where you come back pretty quick off those.
Yeah, I'm not sure about all that, but it doesn't seem like it's a major issue right now with Chubba. Didn't seem like that this week. So we'll see what happens.
Now, Emmett Johnson and Robin had 17 carries on Saturday. That was his career high. He had been more in that 12 to 13 range. Can they push him much higher than 17?
I think they want to try. I mean, just Satterfield said that we need to give him the ball more. And so, how much more volume can he handle? I mean, he's still a relatively smaller back, but didn't seem like it was slowing him down against Maryland. I mean, he was running as hard as anybody on the field in that game, which allowed him to have maybe his best game as a Husker. So that, if you want to try to find a bright spot for Nebraska's offense right now, it's the development of Emmett Johnson. And with all these issues at quarterback, to be able to have a back that you can just turn around and hand the ball off to and get a consistent production out of would be invaluable. So I would expect Emmett Johnson to have probably his heaviest workload of his career if all goes to plan at Wisconsin.
Yeah, and another bright spot's the offensive line, which Rule said played its best game by far all season against Maryland. So, yeah, maybe they can go up to Wisconsin and get some stuff done on the ground. They ran for 184 against Maryland. If they could push out to 200, I'd give them a shot to win the game.
And they got quite a lift on Saturday. I saw this go down. Ethan Piper came on the field during warmups in a wheelchair. I mean, he's recovering from the major surgery he had, and he said some words to those guys. And I think a lot of those players got emotional seeing Pipe down there.
Yep.
And Raiola really gave him a speech. By the way, this is for Raiola. He's a former Wisconsin Badger.
Yeah, he is.
So there's a lot on the line for him. And he's talked about his time at Wisconsin this week to the players and how a lot of what Wisconsin did was built on what Nebraska used to do and just his kind of connection with both programs now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Wisconsin just line up and hammer you. And you'd love nothing else than to go up there to Madison and Nebraska run the ball well. And that be the impetus to them winning a game and getting to a bowl. I mean, that'd be a feather in his cap. Rule seems very happy with Donovan Raiola. It's been sort of an up and down season for those guys, but they've come around. They're like Rule always says, when you're leading the Big Ten in rushing, you're doing something.
He's
right.
weathered the storm. Yeah,
it's almost like Rule takes offense when you ask him how the offensive line's doing. Like, we lead the Big Ten in rushing. Why am I being asked this question?
The pass protection.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be critical about something, just go back to the Michigan State game. Watch the right side of that offensive line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they haven't been perfect, but they've been better. I mean, speaking of the right side of the offensive line, remember Bryce Benhart was like the biggest liability in Power 5. Now he's actually
serviceable.
Yeah. I mean, he has been the least of their concerns in a lot of ways.
And Teddy has played well quietly.
Yeah.
You know how Teddy's playing well? Because we don't talk about him at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's just played well. It's not like guys are racing by him and we're going, what's wrong with Teddy? See, Teddy's not the same. Teddy played really, really well against Maryland.
And Justin Evans-Jenkins stepping in.
Yeah,
I mean, for a young guy that hadn't played at all, playing at a different position, he's supposed to be a center.
He's a dude.
And now he's a starting left guard. And again, you're not talking about him.
Tough dude.
And one penalty for this football team in 2 games.
0 by the offense.
See that? That's progress.
So, I mean, and trust me, I mean, if they can get the turnover thing fixed, I mean, I think that's why you get greedy in a rebuild, like, because you see how easy some of these things could be to get to 8 or 9 wins this year.
Yep.
But you have to remember they're in a rebuild right now.
They are.
But there's been promising things like the penalty stats the last couple of games, the O-line development, the running back development, the defensive scheme, Albano's rise late. I mean, there's been a lot of things you can say, okay, I like this. I like that.
It's a tricky conversation, that rebuild, though, because they got a lot of the same players. I mean, it's the same players as last year on defense.
They weren't good last year.
No, but it's not a rebuilt team. It's not a bunch of new faces on defense, not even new faces up front on offense. I mean, running back.
Nash Hutmacher wasn't contributing like that last year.
Right. But they're all the same guy.
Didn't play at that level last year.
No.
I mean,
it's the development of those guys.
Javen Wright wasn't on the field last year. John Bullock wasn't on the field last year. I mean, there were a lot of guys that are playing now that really weren't even a factor a year ago. Bayer, not on the field last year.
You just go across the board on that defense. It's Tony White, baby. It's the reason why he's a Broyles nominee.
White's name is going to get mentioned for some of these things. This is how it goes.
Yeah, Feldman and Tham are saying that San Diego State will hire offensive side guy. They've gone twice in a row with defensive side, and they might go offensive side this time. That's what the Feldman's saying and Thamel's saying.